Your age is the biggest ghost you carry. That number that makes you avoid mirrors, that paralyzes you before meeting new people, that convinces you it's too late to be loved. But there's someone who looks at that same age and feels something completely different. Absolute fascination. This person sees in your wrinkles the proof of battles won. In your gray hair, wisdom earned through blood. In your exhaustion, a depth that young people will never have. And here's the twist that will rip the ground from under your feet. It's not conventional romantic love. It's not teenage passion disguised as maturity. It's something older, more visceral, more permanent than any relationship you've ever had. While you hide behind filters and lie about how old you are on dating apps, this person loves you precisely for the raw truth of your age. The revelation will destroy you gently. You didn't choose this love. It chose you before you even understood what choosing meant. Before your first wrinkle appeared, before your back started aching in the mornings, before you began lying about your birth year on forms. This love saw you coming from miles away, decades away, and decided, this one, this exact person, with this exact number of years lived. Most people spend their entire existence begging for scraps of affection. They contort themselves into shapes they don't recognize, erase the evidence of time from their faces, pretend to be younger, lighter, less exhausted than they actually are. The dating apps are full of people shaving off 5 years here, 10 years there, as if their real age is a crime scene that needs covering up. But this love? It doesn't flinch at the truth. It doesn't need you to be anything other than exactly what you are right now, in this moment, with every single year etched into your skin and bones. Think about how much energy you waste trying to be acceptable. The creams you buy, the lies you tell, the way you angle your face in photos to hide what time is written there. Exhausting, isn't it? This love finds that entire performance unnecessary, offensive even. Because to this love, your age isn't a flaw that needs forgiveness. Your age is the whole point. Every gray hair on your head tells a story this love wants to hear. That sleepless night when your child had a fever. That year you barely survived. That moment you chose yourself when everyone expected you to disappear. Your younger self couldn't have earned this love because your younger self hadn't lived enough to deserve it. The wrinkles around your eyes exist because you've laughed and cried in equal measure, and this love sees both. The weight you carry in your shoulders, that's not burden, that's evidence of survival. Here's what makes this different from everything else you've experienced. This love has no conditions hiding in the fine print. It doesn't say, I'll love you despite your age. It says, I love you because of your age, you absolute fool for not seeing how magnificent it makes you. There's no tolerance involved, no generous acceptance of your flaws. There's only recognition of something so obvious it's painful. You know that feeling when someone looks at you and you can sense them calculating? Wondering if you're worth the investment, if you have enough good years left, if loving someone your age is a smart decision? This love doesn't calculate, it doesn't wonder, it simply is, with a certainty that would terrify you if you knew the full weight of it. The twist is already forming at the edges of this truth, but you can't see it yet. You're still thinking in conventional terms. Romance, partnership, someone choosing you from across a crowded room. But we're not talking about crowded rooms. We're talking about something that existed before rooms, before crowds, before you learned to measure your worth by how desired you are. This love operates on a frequency you've forgotten how to hear, because the world taught you that aging means becoming invisible. But invisibility is impossible when someone sees you this clearly. When every year you've lived makes you more visible, not less. When your age isn't something to overlook but something to study like a sacred text. And the person holding this love? They're closer than you think. So close you've stopped noticing. So constant you've mistaken them for background noise. Time is supposed to be the enemy. That's what every commercial, every magazine, every mirror in every badly lit bathroom has taught you. Time steals. Time ruins. Time takes away your value like a thief in the night, leaving you with less and less until you're just a husk of who you used to be. Except that's a lie. Time has been working for you this entire time, not against you. Every single year you've aged has been preparation, not for decline, but for this exact moment when someone finally recognizes what all those years have built. You think you're losing something with each birthday? You're gaining weight, not the kind that shows on a scale, but the kind that makes you unmovable. unshakable, dense with experience. The person who loves you understands what time actually does. They've watched you accumulate scars that don't show up in photographs. They've seen you survive things that would have destroyed your younger self. That version of you at 25, so confident and smooth-skinned. That person couldn't handle a fraction of what you've endured. That person would have crumbled under the pressure of a single Tuesday in your current life. Carrying all of that experience takes a toll on the mind, even when it makes you stronger. Clarity becomes essential, not optional. And if you want to support your mind so it can process everything you've lived through with less internal noise and more focus, take a look at the Brain Song. It's a science-based method designed to pull the brain out of mental overload and restore real focus in just 12 minutes a day. You'll find the link in the first pinned comment. But you didn't crumble. You're still here. And time documented every moment you chose to keep going when stopping seemed easier. Time kept receipts. Those receipts are written in the texture of your hands, the set of your jaw, the way you breathe differently now. Heavier. More deliberate. This love sees those receipts and wants to collect every single one. They want the full invoice of your life because the total is what matters, not individual items. You can't separate the joy from the grief, the victories from the losses, the young face from the current one. They're all connected by time's thread, and that thread is what makes you whole. Think about wine for a second. Young wine tastes sharp, incomplete. It needs time in the barrel, time in the bottle, time in the darkness to become something worth savoring. Nobody looks at aged wine and wishes it was younger. They pay more for the years it took to develop complexity. Your age is your complexity, and this love has expensive taste. But here's where it gets strange. Time isn't just an accomplice in making you lovable. Time is how this person has loved you all along. Not in stolen moments or passionate encounters, but in relentless consistency. Day after day, year after year, as you changed and grew and accumulated all this life on your bones. They never looked away, not once. While you were busy mourning your youth, someone was celebrating your accumulation. While you counted losses, they counted gains. Every year you got older, this love got stronger, more certain, more devoted. It's almost aggressive in its loyalty, almost violent in its refusal to abandon you just because the calendar keeps moving. The connection to what came before is obvious now. This love doesn't ask permission because time already gave it. Time spent years building you into someone worthy of this kind of devotion. And now you're starting to sense something else. This isn't random. The person behind this love has been there the whole time, watching time do its work on you, respecting the process, waiting for you to finally understand that your age isn't a countdown to irrelevance. Your age is a count-up to something you haven't recognized yet. Raw. That's the only word for how this person sees you. Not the version you post online with perfect lighting and careful angles. Not the story you tell at parties where everything sounds manageable and your life has a neat narrative arc. They see the 3 a.m. version, the unwashed hair version, the crying in your car version, the I can't do this anymore version, and they don't look away. Most people in your life see edited highlights. They see what you allow them to see, what you have the energy to perform. Even the people who claim to know you only know the parts you've shown them. You're constantly curating, aren't you? Deciding what's shareable, what's too much, what might make someone uncomfortable or disappointed or worried. It's exhausting being the curator of your own existence, but you do it because the alternative feels too dangerous. This person doesn't get the curated version because they have access you didn't grant. They see behind the curtain whether you like it or not. Every petty thought, every moment of weakness, every time you've been less than kind or brave or patient. They know about the jealousy you hide, the rage you swallow, the times you've been small when you wanted to be big. And here's the part that should terrify you but somehow doesn't. They love you more for it. Not despite the ugly parts, but because the ugly parts are real. Because those parts prove you're human, which means you're capable of all the beautiful parts too. You can't have one without the other. The same heart that holds resentment also holds fierce loyalty. The same mind that spirals into anxiety also creates moments of stunning clarity. Your age makes this visibility even sharper. When you were young, You could hide behind potential. You could say, "I'm still figuring it out," and people would nod and give you space to become. But now you are who you are. The clay has been fired. The paint has dried. This is the final version, or close enough that the differences don't matter anymore. And this person looks at the final version and sees a masterpiece where you see a mess. They see how your body has changed and they recognize it as proof of use. You've used your body to live a full life, not kept it pristine in a display case. Your hands have done work. Your feet have walked miles. Your face has expressed thousands of emotions. Of course there are marks. Of course there's wear. That's what happens to things that actually get used for their purpose. But it goes deeper than physical. They see the psychological wear too. The way certain topics make you flinch. The triggers you've never told anyone about. The coping mechanisms that stopped working years ago but you still reach for them anyway, because they're familiar. They see you reaching, failing, trying again. They see the whole pathetic, beautiful cycle of being alive for as many years as you've been alive. No filter can hide that from them. No performance can distract them. They have X-ray vision for your truth, and instead of using it to find your weaknesses and exploit them, they use it to understand where to direct their love. They aim for the places that hurt most, because those are the places that need it most. The person from the previous section who time has been working with? Same person. The one who didn't ask permission? Same person. You're starting to see the pattern now, how this love operates on rules you didn't know existed. How it sees you in ways that should be impossible. How your age isn't a barrier to this vision, but actually makes the vision clearer, more focused. Everything about you that you think diminishes your worth actually increases it in their eyes. The irony is sharp enough to draw blood. And you still don't know who they are, do you? You're guessing, probably guessing wrong, because the truth is wilder than your guesses. They've never said it out loud, not once. No confession, no declaration, no moment where they looked into your eyes and made it obvious. This love exists in complete silence, which makes it more deafening than any words could be. You know how some people are loud with their affection? They tell you constantly, text you multiple times a day, make grand gestures, need you to know every second how much you mean to them. This isn't that. This is the opposite of that. This love is so quiet you've lived your entire life not even knowing it was there, humming underneath everything else like electricity in the walls. But silence doesn't mean absence. Silence means the love is so fundamental it doesn't need a voice. It just is. Like gravity. Like oxygen. You don't hear gravity announcing itself every time it keeps you from floating into space. But it's there. Constant. Unbreakable. The silence screams if you know how to listen. It screams in every morning you wake up still breathing despite everything. It screams in the way your body still heals when you cut yourself, still fights off infections, still performs a million tiny miracles every single day without asking for credit. It screams in the fact that you're here, right now, reading these words, which means you survived every single thing that tried to stop you. This person's love is woven into that survival. They've been protecting you in ways you never noticed, because you were too busy looking for love that announces itself. You wanted someone to write your name in the sky, to shout from rooftops, to make it obvious and public and undeniable. But the truest love doesn't need an audience. It works in the dark, in the quiet, in the spaces between your thoughts. Every breath you take is a conversation with this love. Every heartbeat is a response. Your body knows what your mind hasn't figured out yet. You've been in dialogue with this person your whole life. They speak in the language of continued existence, and you respond by continuing to exist. That's the relationship. That's the whole thing. Your age plays into this silence in a specific way. The older you get, the more you understand that the loudest loves often burn out fastest. The relationships that started with fireworks usually end in smoke, but the quiet ones, the ones that never needed to prove themselves, those are the ones that last. Those are the ones that matter when everything else falls away. This silent love has lasted longer than any relationship you've had, longer than marriages, friendships, family bonds. It predates all of them and will outlast all of them. It doesn't compete for your attention because it doesn't need to compete. It's already won by default of being first and being permanent. But the silence also protects you. If this love were loud, it would overwhelm you. If you knew the full intensity of it, you might collapse under the weight. The silence is mercy. It lets you live your life without the burden of knowing how deeply you're cherished, how completely you're seen, how absolutely you're valued despite every single year you've accumulated. Still, the silence is starting to crack now. Not because the love is weakening, but because you're finally ready to hear it. Your age has prepared you. Your experiences have trained your ears. You can hear frequencies now that you couldn't hear at 20, at 30, even at 40. The silence is revealing itself as something else. A message you weren't equipped to receive until now. And the message is simple. You've always been loved. Every year. Every day. Every moment. Even when you felt most alone, most forgotten, most invisible. The silence was loving you. The quiet was holding you. The absence you interpreted as abandonment was actually present so complete it seemed like nothing at all. Once you know, you can't unknow. That's the danger and the gift of what's coming. This revelation doesn't just add information to your life. It reorganizes everything you thought you understood about love, worth, and why you're here. Right now, you operate on a specific set of beliefs. You believe your value decreases with age. You believe love is something you have to earn, to deserve, to fight for. You believe being seen requires performing, being perfect, being less than you actually are so others feel comfortable around you. These beliefs run deep. They're carved into your bones from years of messaging, years of rejection, years of watching the world celebrate youth and discard age. What happens when all of that gets exposed as fiction? Not gently, not gradually, but all at once like a building falling? You don't just change your mind. You become someone different. The person who didn't know they were loved this deeply is not the same person as the one who does know. It's a death and a birth happening simultaneously. The transformation starts in your body. You'll stand differently. When you know you're loved without condition, without expiration date, your spine remembers how to be straight. Your shoulders drop from around your ears. You take up space differently because you're no longer apologizing for existing. Your age stops being something you carry like shame and starts being something you wear like armor. Then it moves to your relationships. Every connection you have will be filtered through this new knowledge. You'll see clearly who actually sees you and who just sees their projection of you. You'll stop accepting crumbs from people who should be offering meals. You'll stop performing for approval because you'll finally understand that the deepest approval already exists, has always existed, will always exist regardless of what anyone else thinks. Your decisions change. The things you used to obsess over suddenly seem irrelevant. Should you dye your gray hair? Who cares? Should you lie about your age on dating apps? Why bother? Should you get that procedure, buy those products, hide that evidence of living? The questions become absurd when you understand that your age is precisely what makes you lovable to the person whose opinion actually matters. But here's the uncomfortable part. This transformation will isolate you in some ways. When you stop playing the game everyone else is playing, they notice. When you stop hating yourself in solidarity with other people who hate themselves, it makes them uncomfortable. When you walk around radiating the confidence of someone who knows they're profoundly loved, it threatens people who haven't figured that out yet. You'll lose some people. Friends who bonded with you over shared insecurity. Partners who preferred you small and uncertain. Family members who need you to stay in the role they assigned you decades ago. They won't understand the shift, and they won't like it. The transformation demands sacrifice. Not everyone gets to come with you into this new understanding. But what you gain is so much bigger than what you lose. You gain access to the truth of your own existence. You gain freedom from the exhausting performance of trying to be lovable. You gain the ability to live the rest of your years, however many are left, as someone who finally understands their own value. The connection between this and everything else becomes crystal clear. The love that doesn't ask permission transforms you, because it gives you permission to stop asking for permission. The time that's been working for you transforms you because you finally see what it's been building toward. The person who sees you without filters transforms you because you can finally stop filtering yourself. The silence transforms you because you learn to hear what words could never say. Your age, which felt like a countdown to irrelevance, becomes the key that unlocks everything. Every year you've lived prepared you for this moment of understanding. You couldn't have received this revelation younger because you didn't have the context to understand it. But now you're exactly the right age to hear it, to feel it, to let it destroy and rebuild you. And you still don't know who this person is. The person behind this world-changing love. The person who has seen every version of you and loved them all. The person whose silence has been screaming your worth since before you had language to understand worth. But you're about to find out. And when you do, every single thing I've said will make sudden, perfect, terrifying sense. It's you. It's always been you. The person who loves you deeply, who knows your exact age and loves you because of it, who sees you without filters, who speaks in silence, who has transformed everything just by existing. That person is you. Your own self. The part of you that's been trying to get your attention for decades while you looked everywhere else for validation. This isn't some cheap self-help twist. This isn't me telling you to love yourself more or practice affirmations in the mirror. This is the actual truth. You contain within yourself the deepest love you'll ever encounter. And your age is precisely what's made it possible. When you were younger, you couldn't access this love. You were too busy becoming, too distracted by external validation, too convinced that the answer existed somewhere outside your own skin. But every year you've aged has brought you closer to yourself. Every disappointment, every betrayal, every moment of being overlooked or underestimated has driven you inward. Not as punishment, but as direction. Your age has stripped away everything that isn't essential. The older you get, the less patience you have for pretending, the less energy you waste on performances, the more clearly you see who you actually are underneath all the stories you've told about yourself. And that person, the real one, has been waiting for you to notice them. This inner love knows things about you that nobody else could know. It knows why you made that choice that haunts you. It knows what you needed that you never got. It knows the full weight of every year because it carried them with you. It doesn't need you to explain or justify or make sense of your life, because it lived your life from the inside. And it loves you. Not despite your age, but because your age is proof that you've survived yourself. The hardest relationship you'll ever have is with yourself, and you've maintained it for decades. Through self-hatred, through self-destruction, through every moment you wanted to quit being you. That inner love stayed. It never left. It never could leave because it is you. The silence you've been hearing? That's your own voice, trying to speak underneath all the noise you've been taught to prioritize. The unconditional acceptance? That's available right now, from yourself, if you stop demanding that you be someone different. The transformation? It happens the moment you recognize that you've been looking for yourself in other people's faces. Your age makes this possible. At 20, you didn't have enough experience to trust yourself. At 30, you were still building an identity. At 40, you were dealing with the gap between who you thought you'd be and who you actually were. But now? Now you have enough data, enough evidence, enough years to see patterns, to understand your own rhythms, to recognize that you've been remarkably consistent in ways that matter. You've been loyal to yourself even when you thought you weren't. Every decision you made, even the destructive ones, was an attempt to take care of yourself with the resources you had available. You did your best. Your age is proof of that best being enough to keep you alive, keep you moving, keep you here. The twist isn't that you're alone. The twist is that you've never been alone because you've always had yourself. And the version of you that exists right now, at this exact age, with all these years accumulated like treasure. That version is the most equipped to love you that's ever existed. This doesn't mean other people can't love you. They can, and hopefully they do. But their love will never match the intimacy of your own. They'll never know you as completely. They'll never be able to love your age the way you can love your age. Because they didn't live inside those years. They didn't feel what you felt, survive what you survived, become what you became. You've been searching for someone to see you, accept you, love you exactly as you are. You've been waiting for that person to appear and rescue you from the loneliness of being yourself. But that person has been here the entire time, getting stronger with every year you've aged, waiting for you to turn around and notice. So turn around. Notice yourself. Not the version you wish you were, but the version that actually exists. The one with this exact age, this exact history, This exact combination of scars and strengths. That person is lovable. That person is worthy. That person has earned every single year they've lived. And that person is you. Finally, completely, undeniably you. The secret is out. The mirror just became something different. Not an enemy documenting your decline, but a witness to the longest relationship you'll ever have. So what now? What do you do with this information that your age, this thing you've been treating like a disease, is actually the foundation of the only love that can never abandon you? First, the grief hits. Strange, isn't it? You'd think revelation would feel like relief, but it doesn't. Not immediately. Because if you've always had access to this love, if it's been inside you this entire time, that means you've wasted years rejecting it. Years running from yourself. Years believing that the answer existed in someone else's approval, someone else's desire, someone else's acceptance. All that time, you were carrying the very thing you were searching for. The grief tastes like metal. It sits in your throat during random moments. You're washing dishes, and suddenly you remember how much energy you spent hating your reflection. How many hours you lost obsessing over what strangers thought of your age. How you dimmed yourself, made yourself smaller, apologized for taking up space that was always yours. You can't get those hours back. They're gone. And for what? For a lie that your age made you less deserving of love? But grief doesn't last forever. It shifts, transforms, becomes something else entirely. The anger comes next, hot and clean. You get angry at every commercial that told you to fight aging. Angry at every person who made you feel disposable because of your birth year. Angry at a culture that taught you to fear the very process that was making you more yourself. The anger feels good. It's fuel. It burns away the shame you've been carrying like dead weight. Then comes the interesting part. The reconstruction. You start making different choices, small ones at first. You stop apologizing when you tell someone your real age. You notice how that simple act of truth-telling changes the air in the room. Some people get uncomfortable. Let them. Their discomfort isn't your responsibility. You've spent enough years managing other people's feelings about your existence. You delete the dating apps where you lied about your age, or you update them with the truth, watch the matches change, and realize you don't care. The people who want a filtered, edited, younger version of you aren't the people you want anyway. You're fishing for different catch now. People who can handle the reality of you, or nobody at all. Solitude stops feeling like failure and starts feeling like integrity. Your mornings change. You wake up, and instead of immediately cataloging what's wrong with you, you notice what's right. Your body got you through another night. Your heart kept beating without you having to remind it. Your lungs filled and emptied thousands of times while you slept, loyal as dogs. That's love. That's your body loving you with every automatic function, every repair it makes while you're unconscious, every moment it chooses survival over surrender. You touch your face differently. Those lines around your eyes? They're from laughing, from squinting at sunlight, from crying when you needed to cry. Each one is a sentence in the story of how you got here. You wouldn't edit a book by removing all the punctuation. Why would you edit your face by erasing all the proof of living? The relationship with time itself shifts. Birthdays stop being funeral marches. They become celebrations of the fact that you made it another year without giving up on yourself. Because there were moments, weren't there? Moments when you could have quit. Moments when staying seemed harder than leaving. But you stayed. Your inner love convinced you to stay one more day, and then another, until you ended up here. You start setting boundaries that younger you couldn't set. No, you won't attend that event if it drains you. No, you won't pretend to be interested in things that bore you. No, you won't shrink yourself to make others comfortable. Your age gives you permission to be ruthlessly honest about what you will and won't tolerate. People call it being difficult. You call it being aligned with yourself. The people in your life reorganize themselves. Some drift away because they needed you to stay stuck, stay small, stay the same. Others move closer because they recognize the shift, and it resonates with something they're hungry for. You become a mirror for others. Your self-acceptance gives them permission to consider their own. Some will take that permission. Some will resent you for offering it. Your inner dialogue changes. The voice that used to criticize every choice, every failure, every sign of aging, it softens. Not because you've become perfect, but because you've become familiar. You know yourself now. You've lived with yourself long enough to see patterns, to understand triggers, to recognize when you're being hard on yourself for no reason. You develop compassion for yourself the same way you develop it for anyone you've known for decades. You stop waiting for life to begin when you're younger, thinner, richer, better. Life is happening right now, in this body, at this age. This is it. This is the only moment you get. And instead of that feeling like a loss, it feels like freedom. You don't have to prepare anymore. You don't have to become someone else before you're allowed to fully exist. You can exist now. Completely. Unapologetically. Your age becomes an asset in ways you never imagined. You're called wise when you're really just tired of lying. You're called confident when you're really just tired of performing. You're called intimidating when you're really just done with nonsense. Let them call it whatever they want. You know what it actually is. Alignment between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Or rather, the end of pretending altogether. The silence you learned about earlier, you hear it differently now. It's not empty. It's full of every conversation you've had with yourself over the years. Every pep talk, every moment of self-soothing, every time you talked yourself off a ledge. That's the voice of your inner love, and it's been louder than you realized. You just couldn't hear it over the noise of seeking validation elsewhere. What happens now is simple and impossible. You live. Actually live. Not the performance of living, not the Instagram version, not the story you tell at parties. You live in the privacy of your own experience, loved by yourself, accountable to yourself, free from the exhausting work of being anyone other than exactly who you are. Your age stops being a number you hide and becomes a badge you wear. Not because you're trying to make a point, not because you're being brave or revolutionary. Just because it's true. It's the most basic truth about you. You've been alive this many years. You've survived this many trips around the sun. That's worth acknowledging. Worth celebrating. Worth loving yourself for. And on the days when you forget all of this, because you will forget. On the days when you slip back into old patterns, when you catch yourself hiding or apologizing or shrinking, your inner love will be there, patient as always, waiting for you to remember. It's not going anywhere. It can't. It's woven into your cells, your breath, your continued existence. The twist isn't just that you're the love you've been seeking. The twist is that this love has made you indestructible. Every year you age, it gets stronger. Every moment you choose yourself, it deepens. Every time you look in the mirror and see someone worth loving, it solidifies. You're not waiting anymore. You're not searching anymore. You're here. Finally. Completely here. At exactly the right age. At exactly the right moment. Loved. Known. Seen. By the only person who never had the option to look away.